I think it's from that first test match is my favourite cricket memory. I remember walking out to bat, and I looked up at the scoreboard and it said, "Congratulations, Shane Warne, you're the 350th test cricketer to play for Australia." That's not a lot of people. Only 350 people ever have played cricket for Australia. Well, I think the cherry Negroni would be the right one because you've got to pop your cherry. And I popped my cherry playing cricket for Australia at the Sydney Cricket Ground. December 30, 1991, I got picked. Had New Year up in Sydney and then made my debut game for Australia at the Sydney Cricket Ground, which was a pretty amazing experience. I was walking with Dean Waugh and we both had a couple of pies, a couple of beers in the members, and we had them all under arm trying to carry them and drink them. And as I ran into the team manager, Ian McDonald, he said, "I'd go easy on that, you could be playing the next test match." And I went, "Yeah, whatever, mate, yeah, sure, Macca." That night, I got the phone call. December 30, 1991, you've been picked in the squad for the next test match in Sydney. So we just kept going, you know, we just kept drinking that night, all of us, and celebrated that. I was 21, you know, I was so young, I'd hardly played any first class cricket. I played a handful of games. I was inexperienced, I didn't know half the team. I had to introduce myself to some of the team. So I remember standing there with my cricket bag outside the dressing room saying, "Oh, g'day Bruce, it's Shane Warne." "Yeah, g'day mate." And back then, you know, late 80s, early 90s, you sort of didn't say anything until you were spoken to. So one of the standout things I remember was New Year's Eve, 91, David Boone and Jeff Marsh. We used to stay at a place called the Old Sydney Park Royal on the Rocks. And the rooftop was always the Australian cricket team New Year's Eve. So there was a couple of Eskies there and Boone and Marsh said to me, "Right, youngster, we heard you don't mind a beer." It's a gin now, but you don't mind a beer. We're going to finish these Eskies and watch the fireworks. I went, "Okay, let's go." So we demolished the Eskies and the next day we had training. And Bob Simpson, our coach, used to have a thing called make a yard. So he'd hit the cricket ball up and you had to run after it, and he'd always hit them just out of your reach, so you had to make a yard. And he'd sort of embarrass the young fella. And sure enough, all the old guys were watching me. And I just couldn't do it. I was gone. I was unfit anyway. I was overweight. I was 99 kilo. I was a fat bastard. I was nowhere. And I had the worst hangover after drinking with Marsh. So I was trying to make a yard and I just couldn't do it. In the end, I sort of was on my knees, throwing up. I was gone. This was my first impressions to the Australian cricket team. It wasn't good. And they sort of embraced me and they said, "Welcome to the team." And that was sort of it. So we'd picked Bruce Reid, Craig McDermott, Merv Hughes, and myself. But we really only had three main bowlers, Merv, Craig McDermott and myself. And I bowled thousands of overs and got smashed to every single part of the Sydney Cricket Ground. I dropped Ravi Shastri on 66, caught and bowled. He went on to make 206. He was caught at deep cover, the late, great Dean Jones, a fellow Victorian. He caught it, I got it, and I ended up having the figures of 1 for 150 my first test match, and I thought, well, at least they can't take that away from me. I'll never play again, but at least they can't take that away from me. That Indian side then had Dilip Vengsarkar, Kapil Dev, Mohammad Azharuddin, Sidhu, young Sachin, I think he was 12. I don't know how old he was. He looked like he was about 12. He was probably 16 or something. He made 100. Ravi Shastri made the 200. So they had an unbelievable batting team. Their bowling wasn't that strong. Kapil Dev was towards the end, but their batting was dynamite strong. Sanjay Manjrekar as well. So they were really good. So at the end of it, I thought, look, I thought, you know, I didn't bowl very well. I got smashed. That'll be it. Luckily enough, they stuck with me, and I sort of like to think I repaid them over the years to repay the selectors that showed faith in me. I think though, when I look back, people often ask, what's your favourite cricket memory? And I think it's from that first test match is my favourite cricket memory. I remember walking out to bat, I looked up at the scoreboard and it said, "Congratulations, Shane Warne, you're the 350th test cricketer to play for Australia." And as I was walking out, I thought, that's not a lot of people. Only 350 people ever have played cricket for Australia. So I was pretty proud of that. And looking back, I think it's really important that you have those. If you come onto the international scene in any sport, top level sport, and you do really well at the start, I don't think that holds you in good stead. Sure, there's exceptions to the rule. But I think if you struggle at the start, I think it makes you appreciate how hard it is, top level sport, all the things that go along with top level sport. So struggling at the start, I thought, gave me a great foundation to appreciate the successes more when I had them. I was in and out of the side for a bit, then when I came back in Boxing Day Test match 1992 against the West Indies, I took 7 for in front of my home crowd, 90-odd thousand people at the Boxing Day Test, and from then on it was pretty good. When you play top level sport, you really just don't want to embarrass yourself, and you want to prove to yourself and everyone else that you're good enough. So no matter what anyone says to you, they can say you're good enough, keep at it, stick with it, keep training hard, and all those things, but until you actually do it yourself, you don't believe. And once you believe you're good enough for that level, that's when the good stuff happens. That's when you come out, you've got that confidence. It doesn't matter if things don't quite go your way, because you'll stick at it. You know what needs to be done to be successful. That's very simplistic. There's obviously a lot more to it than that, but that's the bottom line, that until you've done it yourself and done something special at whatever sport you're doing and you've nailed it, because once you believe you're good enough, anything can happen.